So we need to have a conversation about Mega Evolution Pokemon cards, because for a number of months now they've been rising very nicely, whereas most people are focused on illustration rares, and rightfully so based on how quickly they're rising. Mega Evolution Pokemon cards are rising very nicely too, but quite quietly in the background. I mean, just look at this Mega Charizard card right here. Of course, we've got the Mega Charizard EX Secret from Flashfire. Now, this card is extremely expensive, as you can see right here, $460. And if we look at how much it's risen in the last 6 months, of course, here I've got the 6-month graph in front of me, we can see it was down around $340. And although as a percentage it's only up 33%, which isn't as much as you look at some of those illustration rares that have gone up hundreds of percent, you can see as a numerical value it's gone up about $120, which for a card as old as this, you don't normally see gains as big as this. $120 rise for a card as old as this is quite big. Now, of course, Charizard can be a bit of an anomaly when it comes to pricing for a Pokemon card, as it's Charizard, of course, right? So let's have a look at another example. We've got the Mega Rayquaza EX Shiny Full Art from Ancient Origins. What a fantastic card this is, with those greens, those pinks, those yellows. They really correspond very well. And as you can see here, a $311 card. And if you look at that graph, it's risen a lot over the last year. A higher percentage this time with 113% rise. It was down at only around 146, but has more than doubled in value and has surpassed that $300 mark. So of course that begs the question, just what's going on with Mega Pokemon cards right now? Why are they rising? Why are cards that are so old, going all the way back to the X and Y era, why are they suddenly seeing such a rapid rise? Now, looking at PokeBeach, as we can see here on January the 9th, they put up an article that says Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia are two sets that have been trademarked for the Pokemon TCG, potentially hinting at Mega Evolutions. Now, if we look further down, if we look at this part that I've highlighted, it says that these names have been filed by Pokemon and they're under the same terms as trademarks used for set names in the past. So, strengthening that idea that these are names that will be used as names of sets, as they've done this same routine before. So if we look at this newer article from PokeBeach again, it was posted on February the 27th, so only a few days ago. They said Mega Lucario EX and Mega Gardevoir EX have been revealed. Now this was officially revealed, as you can see where I've highlighted, at Pokemon Presents, which is a reveal for a lot of different news and information on Pokemon for Pokemon Day, which was just the other day. And this confirmed and announced that Mega Evolutions indeed will be returning for the TCG in 2025. And we did see a couple of artworks, as you can see here. We've got the Mega Lucario and the Mega Gardevoir EX. Before we move on to the next card, guys, just a huge thank you to all of you that are appearing on the channel, all of you new faces. It's fantastic to see, and I just want you all to know that I'm very grateful for the support you're showing. So if you are new here and you're enjoying the video, please don't hesitate to leave a like, as it really does help me out. And also, if you're new here and you're not yet subscribed and you're thinking of doing so, I like to make a video about the TCG every other day, so if this sounds like something you would enjoy, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. Now, taking a closer look at the artwork for these two cards that have been revealed, I'm a huge fan of what they're doing. It would seem that they're potentially going back down that route, back to XY, when Mega Evolution cards existed, and kind of copying that artwork in some way, shape or form. Now, as you can see here, the Mega Lucario and the Mega Gardevoir EX. I've got the Mega Lucario EX from one of the alternate art promos from the X and Y era. And also what I'm going to do is bring up a side by side of the Mega Lucario we've had revealed, as well as that Mega Lucario EX from the X and Y era. And if you compare their art styles, they're very similar. There's a lot of reds and blues going on there, more yellow in that X and Y era card. But when we see this Mega Lucario EX from nowadays, when it gets its, or inevitably get its SIR card as well, it will probably closely resemble this one, and that, for me, it pleases me. I'm a big fan of the artwork from that era. I think they're fantastic looking cards, and with a modern kind of twist, that Scarlet and Violet element to them, I think we could be looking at some potentially fantastic looking cards. Just one last bit of information on those new sets. As we can see here, I've highlighted this bit here. It says Mega Lucario EX has the Mega Brave attack, and Mega Gardevoir EX has a Mega Symphonia attack. Now, if you remember, that was of course the name of the sets that they trademarked, which more than likely means they will be part of the Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia sets, respectively, that we previously discovered through trademarks. Now, it says they will likely be released around August in Japan, which is not too far away, it's a few months, but we already know we've got Journey Together coming out soon, then the Team Rocket based set, Destined Rivals. We've got that black and white theme set that we know has been trademarked as well. So once these all come out over the next few months, I'm sure the next one after that will most likely be this set featured around Mega Evolutions around that August-September time. Going back to those X and Y era Mega Evolution cards, we have the Gengar EX just to show how much they're rising over the last few months. Now, I always called this card the Mega Gengar Party card. You see these beads flying around in the background here, or foreground as well. We've got yellow, blue, green, red, purple. It always reminds me of some kind of like party atmosphere amongst all the other colors in the card. Fantastic, fantastic looking card, which is why I always had a soft spot for it. And as we can see over the last year, really has flown. As we can see, was $50 and has almost doubled in value as it sits around $91 as of today. Fantastic card, and another example of just how popular Mega Pokemon cards are becoming, based on the news that they will be returning later on this year. Just another example of more rises from the era. We have one of my favorite cards from the entire era. This is from Ancient Origins. This is the Primal Kyogre EX, the shiny full art card. The blues and the yellows and just everything going on in this card is fantastic. Now, as we look closer down, as we can see, again, rising quite a lot over the last few months. As we can see, you got the year graph up, was sitting at around $65 over a year ago. It has almost doubled in value as it sits at $113 as of today. It really does show that with the news of Mega Evolution cards returning, the Mega Evolution cards from the X and Y era are really starting to climb with it. And again, one final example of those rises, we go back to Flashfire, we go back to Charizard. Of course, the one we looked at the beginning was the secret card. This one is just your regular EXX card. Now, as we can see again, sitting at $131, a lot cheaper than that secret one. But again, with a nice rise, if we look at that graph over the last year, was around $86 and has flown up to over 130. Again, they're all on the rise. All of these Mega Pokemon cards, these strong evolution cards, Kyogre, Gengar, Rayquaza, Charizard, are all on the move thanks to the news of the return of Mega Pokemon cards. Now, we're talking about cards here that were released at least 10 years ago, with Flashfire being released in 2014 and Ancient Origins being released in 2015. It's more than probable that a lot of you watching were not around in that X and Y era. Therefore, you perhaps think that you've missed the boat to obtain some of these cards. But I want to show you that there are some really nice and desirable cards and desirable Pokemon that are still relatively affordable in the grand scheme of things. Now, starting off with one of my most favorite Pokemon from Generation 1, one of the coolest Pokemon that there is, in Alakazam, and its mega form is absolutely phenomenal as well. As you can see, it's almost like an older, wiser version of Alakazam. I love how it looks. It just fits Alakazam so well, being a psychic, powerfully minded Pokemon. I love what they've done with the Mega Evolution. Now, as you can see here, Alakazam also has a lot of fans. There's a lot of people that really do love Alakazam. And if you weren't around back in the X and Y area, of course, this came out in Fates Collide, perhaps you want to go back and pick this card up. Again, it's risen a lot. It was only $14 and has gone up over 140% in the last year, but still sits around $35, which, as you think about it in the grand scheme of things, that's the price of around that Houndour illustration rare card from Obsidian Flame, for example, which is slightly overpriced in my opinion right now. I talked about that in my last video. It's probably around a $20 card, to be fair, on a normal day in a normal market. But instead of spending the money on that overpriced card, why not go back and pick up this beautiful Mega Alakazam EX card from Fates Collide for around the same price? Now, we talked about Alakazam, right, from Generation 1. Let's look at the Alakazam version, so to speak, from Generation 3. Now, Gardevoir is one of my most favorite Generation 3 Pokemon. I'm a sucker for those older gen Pokemon. Gardevoir was always in my team. You pick routes up on one of the first routes of the game, and it's a fantastic Pokemon. It's very strong, of course. And here we get two for the price of one. We've got a regular and a shiny pictured together with that painted red and black kind of paint splash background. What a phenomenal card this is. Very beautiful, and one that, in my opinion, probably deserves a higher price. $65 for this card, in my most humble opinion, is really quite cheap. Perhaps you're also a big fan of Gardevoir and you feel you maybe have missed the boat because you weren't around 10 years ago when this card was released. Rest assured, you can still pick this card up for a reasonable price. It's sort of the same sort of price as that SIR Altari EX card from Paradox Rift, around $60, $65. Quite reasonable in today's market, in my most humble opinion. Again, has risen nicely in the last year or so. As you can see, about a year ago, under $20, but with the news of the Mega Pokemon returning, this has risen nicely just like they all have and has shot up to $60. But still, in general, for this card, a 10-year-old card, $65 really isn't too bad, and you're getting a fantastic looking card. Moving on to Generation 2, we have Scizor. I mentioned it in my video about Obsidian Flames, which I did a couple days ago. I mentioned how much I love Scizor, being one of my favorites from Generation 2. in what a fantastic looking card that Mega Evolution is, with those greens, those blues, those blacks, those reds. They all contrast and come together very, very well, in my opinion, to create a fantastic and beautiful looking Mega Scizor card. Now, one again that's so cheap. This one's from BREAKpoint, as you can see here. Again, a 10-year-old card, a Mega Evolution Scizor. Scizor also being somewhat of a fan favorite, a strong Generation 2 Pokemon, for only $25. What a fantastic pickup that is. As you can see, was only a $10 card a year ago. Some of these X and Y Mega Evolution Pokemon were really slept on for a long time. They weren't everyone's cup of tea, to be fair. Some people aren't a big fan of those Mega Evolution cards. Me personally, I am. I think they look phenomenal, and when you have a binder page full of them, they really pop. They really are beautiful, ones you have to see in person. Now, has risen nicely again over the last month or so, as you can see here, rising from $10 or $12 all the way up and doubling in value to over $25. But again, in the grand scheme of things, what's $25? It's not the most, it's not going to break your bank, is it? So if you're a fan of Scizor or a fan of these Mega Evolution cards and you don't want to spend too much and you want to pick one or two up, look no further than this Mega Scizor, which is a fantastic card and still very cheap. Lastly, another fan favorite, jumping back to Generation 1, we have Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a huge favorite amongst the community, such an epic Pokemon. If you haven't watched the first Pokemon movie, where he was trying to be controlled by Team Rocket and ended up breaking out and just controlling the world more or less, Mewtwo, due to that, has always been appreciated for the amount of power it has and just how cool he looks. Now, as we can see, based on the pinks, the blacks, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, very colourful background, and the Mega Mewtwo here looking very cool in the foreground. Now, as we can see, again, a very cheap card, sitting around that mid-20 range, just like that Mega Scizor. Again, was only a $10, $11 card a year ago and was for the longest time, until again, with the news of the return of Mega Pokemon, saw a rise and more than doubled in value, as it sits around $24 today. Again, if you're a fan of Mewtwo, a fan of Mega Pokemon, a fan of X and Y era art cards, any of the above or all of the above, why not go pick up this Mewtwo while you can here at only $20 odd, very cheap, and you're getting a fantastic looking Mega Mewtwo card. Now, what about some cards from that era that I think could potentially be included in this set that will be released around that August, September time? Perhaps cards that, based on how they look or what they're based on, coincide with the way things are going in the Pokemon TCG this year, and I think they could be included for one reason or another. Now, to start off, we have Team Magma's Groudon EX, and what a beautiful card this is, right? As you can see, you're not just getting Groudon, but you're also getting Claydol, Camerupt, Zangoose, a couple of Magma recruits in there as well, and the general theme of it being orangey, red, brown, black. I love it. It's very Team Magma themed. Of course it is, right? Beautiful, beautiful card, but why would it be included in a set this year? Well, let's not forget they've started to reintroduce trainer-owned Pokemon cards again with Interjourney Together and also Destined Rivals. We know they've returned, so therefore, why would it not be also be included in a set later on this year? It's more than probable, and also would be a bit of an ode to that era when Mega Pokemon existed, right? Back in XY era, we've looked at a few today, so it's more than probable that also this type of card could also be included. Not necessarily Team Magma's Groudon, but there's a lot of other villains out there. You got Team Rocket, of course, you got Team Plasma, etc, etc. Why not also include some cards similar to this in the new Mega Evolution set? Now let's jump over to the Pokemon database, where we have the Pokedex itself, and here we have Mega Pinsir. Now, why am I looking at here? Why am I not looking at a card? That's the point. Mega Pinsir has never had a card, therefore it is more than probable that they could include some Mega Pokemon cards of one that didn't get the light of day back in the X and Y era. As we know, we got that Mewtwo, we got that Scizor, we got that Gardevoir, we got that Alakazam, Charizard, etc, etc, etc. But Pinsir here never got a card, and there's two other Pokemon also like that. There are more, there's others, but these are just three that I've chosen that I would like to get cards. For example, the Mega Medicham here, which looks awesome. I absolutely love this card. It's more than probable that this gets a card as well. And finally, as is flavour of the sort of era with it coming out in Surging Sparks, is Latias. Yes, Latias also has a mega version, but never got a card back in the X and Y era. Therefore, it would be nice to see this Latias here, or the Medicham, or even the Pinsir, which I think looks really cool, get Mega Evolution cards as they've never had them before. Now that does conclude things for today, guys. So thank you very much for watching. It's been very, very cool to sort of have a look, go back in the X and Y era, have a look at how cool those X and Y era cards were, those Mega Evolution cards, why they're rising lately, just how much they've been rising as well, and also a little bit of a feature on the new set we'll be getting around that August, September time, which will finally feature yet again Mega Evolution Pokemon cards. As always guys, let me know down in the comments what you think of Mega Pokemon, what you think of them returning in this set in the August-September time. Whether you're a fan of them or not, let me know down below. I'm always interested to know what you guys think and talk about it with you in the comments. Anyway guys, if you are still here, a huge thank you for that, for the support you're showing. I really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed the video, please don't hesitate to leave a like, as it really does help the channel out. And of course, if you are new, as I said before, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, as I'd love to have you here. Guys, if you didn't check out my last video where I featured Obsidian Flames and how a lot of those illustration rare cards are flying under the radar, and also the good and the bad they did with the set, you can watch that video right there. But of course, that's been everything guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Pokecharla, and I'll catch you in the next one.